Those of you who don't know me, my name is Debbie Boisel. I'm a Vice President of Investments here at Citizens Wealth Management Group, located inside Citizens National Bank. And we do investing in financial planning for bank clients and for people that are not bank clients as well. So today we're going to talk about aging and its financial implications, as well as what it means for your financial plan, and whether or not we should think about where we're going to live in retirement and how that's going to affect our plan as well. So this program has been put together by a mutual fund company called Legg Mason. It was put together in consideration with Johns Hopkins School of Nursing. It's very well done, based on a lot of science and a lot of thought as to what happens to us as we get older and what that's going to mean for us trying to plan for that financially. So the School of Nursing is very well accepted here. They employ novel approaches to ideas on how to come up with good ways to take care of yourself, thoughts about keeping your brain healthy as well as physical activity, but then also the financial aspect, because if you're worried about where your money's going to come from, that's going to have a stress on you as well. So it's been a great partnership. The nursing school has done an excellent job of trying to put some things together for us. There's quite a few facts in here we're going to go through that I think most of you already know. So where do we spend a lot of time? We may spend it as up to 30 years in retirement, right? So depending on when you retire and your longevity in your family, or just you in general, you could spend a long time in retirement, so you may need quite a bit of money. So we have financial advisors. We talk about things called go-go years, slow years, and no-go years. So in other words, how is your retirement going to look like? When you first retire, you're probably in pretty good health, and we're hoping that you're going and doing and enjoying things that you couldn't enjoy when you were working because you had to go to work. So, and then you have some years in there where you can go, but maybe not quite as much as you were going to go. And then unfortunately, as we all age, there's more than likely going to be some years that we call the no-go years. So what's going to happen with your housing and with your financial plan in that particular situation? Right now, the aging population 65 plus will continue to increase at 10,000 people joining that class a day until the year 2030. So there are going to be lots of baby boomers in turning 65 for quite some time. By 2030, all of the baby boomers will be in that 65 or older group. And so right now, that's about 13% of the population. By 2030, it will be closer to 19%. But that also means that there will be about just shy of 9 million people that could be 85 years or older. So as we're living longer, I know the fastest growing portion of our book are people over the age of 90. I met with 2 people in the past 6 weeks that will be 100, one next week, one will be 100 in November. And what that means, both of them capable of getting here on their own, okay? In fact, one, the daughter came with her, and I really believe that she was in better shape than the daughter was. So it is a possibility that we're going to see life well into our 90s or even 100 or older. The other statistic here that is maybe alarming for women is the fact that we definitely live longer. It's a proven fact at this point. We'll see if that demographic changes in the next few years. And the only reason I say that is because they seem to believe that some of it has to do with stress in working. And now that there are more women in the working force, is that going to change that demographic or not? But a woman who lives to be 65 years old can expect to live on average 20 more years. A man who's 65 years can expect on average to live another 18 years. If you reach the ripe age of 85, you have a pretty good chance of living until you are age 100. So there's on average, you live another 6 or 7 years, but we're seeing more and more of those people wait until and pass after their age 100. So what does that mean for us? So here's one thing too, is we're talking about the increase of people. So we're saying percent of women in the 65 plus population, 57% percent of women in the over 85% population is 67%. And then down here, when we get into this orange, this is how many women live without a spouse. So more and more of us live without a spouse than the men do, where 42% of the men live with a spouse, where there's going to be upwards of 70% live alone. So what do we think? What is this going to mean? This number right here says that when we are up in age, at age 75 plus, you can expect that 36% of your household budget is going to go for housing. So I don't know about you right now, but I do not spend 36% of my household budget for housing. And that's after your house has been paid for. Okay? 99% of these people, already their house is paid for, but this is how much is going to go to houses. So at 75 plus, we can expect an awful lot of money is going to go for our household. Why is that? Okay, what happens as we get older? Do we have other issues? Maybe there's other issues. Maybe we can't stay in our house. Maybe we're in assisted living. Maybe we're in a retirement community. All those things cost more money than they do to stay in your house. But then also in your house, are there going to be modifications that have to be made so that you can continue to live there? So housing factors need to be planned. So when we do a financial plan now, we used to only put a little more money in for housing and put more money in for medical. And now we're finding that we are healthier. So we're putting more money in for housing and less money in for medical, still more money in for medical, because we do seem to have more medical problems as we get older. But we are also trying to figure out the housing. But we are putting more and more money aside for housing as we get older, because housing may or may not cost more depending on what we need to do. So we have lots of options, right? We can house in place, and we'll talk about what the pros and cons are of aging in place. There are some new things here that are relatively new to our communities, and that is the 55 independent living communities. We see the advertisements for some of these places on television, how it looks like a fun place to go and live. We have continuing care retirement communities. That's a little bit different. Assisted living facilities, and then last but not least, skilled nursing facilities, which I know for most of us, we get that old feeling, in our head going to visit grandma at a terrible old place that nobody wants to go. So we're hoping that that's not the place we're going to go, and they've improved a lot since then, but it's still a bad connotation in our head to have to go to the nursing home. So when we talk about aging in place, what do we have to think about? So I don't know about you, but I live at a ranch home, and I thought, okay, my house is fine, right? I can live there. Not really. I have 3 steps to get in my house. 1 step, then I'm on the porch, and then I still have another step to get in my house. So if I'm now in a wheelchair, or I'm walking with a walker, how easy is that going to be to maneuver? So even if I go to my garage, I have the same basic scenario. So that's another thought pattern. Now we were starting to see, my father just moved into a condo. His condo is flat. There are no steps in, no steps out. You walk right in from his garage, you walk right in from his front door. There's no step of any kind. So that's one of the thought patterns here, is to think about, what are we going to do? Do you have help? So I talk about, we have a seminar that we used to call, Who Will Change My Light Bulb? So I'm 70 years old. Should I be standing on a ladder or on a chair to change light bulbs? Probably not, right? Probably not as good idea even at 50, but either way, as we get older, okay, should we be standing and changing light bulbs? So who's going to help us? Do we have a social network? Can we still drive? Maybe we can't drive any longer. Do we have someone who's going to take us places? Okay, do we have a favorable floor plan like I was just talking about? Do we have steps? Do we have a bathroom that is conducive for you to get in and out of a tub? I have a regular tub. So it's a big, step to get into the shower. And then access to transportation if you don't have somebody that can get you places. So considerations. So what is it going to cost me to modify my home? I don't know, right? Those are all things that we're going to have to consider. Is it going to cost you a few $100s, a few $1,000s? One of the things I never thought about at my mom's house was rugs. She's got a rug at her front door. It's a trip hazard, okay? We had grab bars put into the bathroom. She had a shower that you could actually go into, but still, if you start to get wobbly, you have something to hang on to if you're in that shower. Those are all minor things, but still extra expenses that you may not be considering. So are you going to need maybe some care to come in and help you do things? So are you still capable of cleaning your house? Are you still capable of, like I said, the light bulb, of doing general maintenance? So if we're in our go-go years, we're in our 50-something plus years, and we are doing all of our fun things traveling, are we putting a lot of money in our house? Probably not, right? We did it. So I just had a roof put on my house. Okay, I'm getting ready to have windows put in. So 20 years from now, when I'm thinking about retiring, are all those things maybe going to need to be replaced again? Probably. So those are the kind of things that we're trying to consider here. Are we going to need to do more updates to our home when we're spending money on things like having fun? So the other one the big one is also going to be transportation. In our area where we live, what do? We drive, right? If you live in bigger cities, you're going to have much more in the idea of mass transportation. So you can get to and from things. So how are we going to get to doctor's appointments? How are we going to go and just have fun? Can we get to the senior center to go do something? How are we going to do all those kind of things? And then healthcare considerations. Are we close to doctors? Do we need to be somewhere where we can be closer to healthcare? How often are we going to have to go to that doctor so that we can get there? So this is the new one that's a lot of fun, the 55 plus communities, right? Sounds like a fun place to live. They are independent, single homes, some of them are condominiums, some of them are senior housing. There is a high-rise not too far from me in Toledo. There is a high-rise. It's kind of a neat facility. It looks like a big old hotel, and there's all kinds of different floors. One floor is nothing but a barbershop and a hair salon, and all kinds of fun things take place there. And then there's another floor that's nothing but exercise equipment, another floor where they're putting puzzles together and doing whatever. So it seems like a fun place. Maybe not one if you're a golfer or tennis place, because that's not what they have, but they do have a garden outside. So it really depends when you start looking at these communities. What's your interest? And then again, what's your budget? So do you want to spend a lot of money on housing? Are you looking for the social activity there while you're there? Or are you the kind that's going to go out and do your social activities somewhere else? These are all things to consider when you're saying, okay, is this going to cost me $2,000 a month or $4,000 a month to live here? Am I using that from the sale of a house to go to one of these facilities? Am I using that as part of my fund money to go and do things? All types of things that to think about before we decide that this is where we're going. The other issue is, these are such good ideas or such fun things that people like, they are not easy to find. There's no availability. We're building them left and right, but they're full. So you see the Del Webb ones on television? Most of those are full when you get to a community. They're building new ones every day. They tell me they can't build them fast enough in the Carolinas. And they're very expensive. They're not cheap propositions to move into. But the independent living has become a very big consideration for people as they get older. I like the idea that everything is right there. So there are several communities. I think there's a newer one in Lima that they're just starting to do, where it's an actual community. So you don't actually live in a high-rise, but you might live in your apartment, whatever, but everything is right there. You don't have to go anywhere, maybe in a golf cart, okay? You don't have to go very far to do anything you want to do. There's going to be a restaurant there, a barbershop there, a dry cleaner. Everything you need is going to be right in that facility, so maybe you're not as worried about how am I going to get from here to there. There's a grocery store there. Things like that are all right there ready for you. So, consideration. In 2015, the average cost of renting was $2,417. Now that's a little high for our area, but that is around the country, with an average of about $1,400 to $4,000 per month in certain areas. Some of them have an HOA fee over and above it. We're not seeing as much of that here as we do in some of the bigger cities. We're seeing much bigger HOA fees. If there are HOA fees here, they're smaller, and most of the time they're pretty easily absorbed. They do allow in most of these communities for family to come and stay with you for a short period of time. So if the kids and the grandkids do come and stay with you, they're not being thrown out because they're not 55 years old. They can come stay for a while. A lot of times you will see that a family member may move in with someone because they don't want to move out, and they still need a little more help than what they're going to be able to get in that facility, and that is a possibility as well. Simplified lifestyle, kind of like what we were talking about, and then healthcare considerations. Definitely doctor's offices nearby. So continuing care retirement communities, or CCRCs. Okay, very similar to the independent, okay, because some of it is independent. So it is a combination of independent, assisted living, and skilled living. So what this basically means is that you move into this community, and right now today you're independent, but tomorrow maybe you need a little more care, and then finally you need more care. So you buy into these for the most part. So normally there is a big upfront fee to buy in. So you live there, and it guarantees you a spot should you need a spot to go to the next facility and to the next one. So they're going to make sure that even if they don't have a room for you today, they will take care of you in the facility that you're in, or in the apartment that you're in, until they have a space for you in the next section up. So we don't have a lot of them in our area. The biggest one that I know of is over in the Indianapolis area. There's several of them over there. There's a few of them here, but not as many as we're seeing in some of the bigger cities. The biggest thing here is that it is a big buy-in. So normally you're spending money to buy into this facility. So you're spending a big upfront fee. On 2015 data, the average entrance fee was just shy of $300,000 or $282,000, and so you put this lump sum down. It guarantees you a place to live. You live in that place. You're still going to pay a maintenance fee. Now, the maintenance fee, for the most part, to live in the apartment or whatever that you're living in, is for your food, those kind of things, because it does come with a meal plan of some type. So based on that data, it is another $2,800 a month to live in some of those facilities. Little high for our area, but still on a national average, that's what you're looking at. What is nice about the top part is that for the most part, that is deductible as a medical expense, or part of it is deductible as a medical expense, according to the IRS. So that 1 year you would have a big deduction for part of that $200,000 or $300,000 that you have placed into that program. So couples still get individualized care. So husband and wife moves in, maybe one of you need to go get more care. That is a possibility in most of these facilities, so you're not separated. You can go with the spouse, you can stay in your place, they can go to theirs, and you can meet for lunches, dinners, whatever the case may be. But it is still a possibility that you would be able to stay there. There is security, there are still recreation activities, so it's very similar to the 55 lifestyle, and we do see people go to these, but they want to know. So I have a client that moved into one. He has Alzheimer's. She does not. She still wanted all the activities that they could do as long as he could do them, but she knows that they're going to need the care sooner rather than later. It was closer to family. They moved in, families around them, and it's become a pretty good deal. In fact, they're getting ready to move into the assisted facility part now, only because the husband has progressed to that situation. But she still then can go back and forth, see her friends on the other side, and not have a problem. It's a huge, huge facility that they're in. Every level of care is there, so there are doctors and nurses on staff at most of these places, so it's not even like you have to go out. You can still go out, but there is help there because of the assisted facility and because of the skilled care facility. So it is another consideration, albeit a little bit of an expensive one. So assisted living facilities, similar to what we were just talking about here, consideration. They do not provide medical care 24/7. So they do have, most of them do have a nurse or somebody that's on staff that's there throughout the day, and they have somebody on call that they can get for you, but they do not actually offer skilled care. They do have dementia and Alzheimer's units, and the difference there is a lot of Alzheimer's and dementia patients can still do most activities. They just, might need some reminding that today you got to get dressed, or it's time to come to lunch, or whatever. And we want to know that they're safe. They're not wandering somewhere. So normally those units we'll see on a lockdown basis, so that we'll see that they can't get out. They can get outside. Courtyards are inside. So they can go outside and they know that they've won outside, but they can't get away where somebody's going to be worried, where's my loved one at? So those are nice safeguards there. They all have licensing, depends on where you live, on what the licensing is in order to do all those things. And like I said, biggest thing there is going to be the fact that you have some safeguard and that you know that somebody's being taken care of. There are some extra help there if you do need it. So maybe you just need help being reminded to take your meds every day. Maybe you need reminded, and so there's a reminder that somebody comes, lunches or breakfast is offered from 8 until 10. Somebody reminds you if they haven't seen you by 9:15 to come and eat breakfast. Lunch is offered from a certain time frame, so what do we do here to make sure? And then housekeeping, those kind of things are up to you. You get to decide how much and how little you want to pay for in these types of facilities. Average cost, about $43,200 a year is the average cost. We say in our area somewhere between $3,500 and $4,500 a month is going to be the average cost for these. And then skilled nursing facilities. We all know about skilled nursing facilities, right? It's going to be your highest care. So provides the highest level of medical care. There is a doctor that is there every day. Some of the facilities now have a doctor that's there 24/7 that will be on staff. And it is someone who really needs the nursing care around the clock. It's pretty much run like a medical facility, so you're going to have nurses that are going to make sure that you get meds and you get things done, unfortunately, duration is usually long-term. So you're not going to a skilled facility for a short period of time. Unfortunately, normally if we get to a skilled facility, it is normally permanent. We see in about 85 to 90% of the cases. So the only way that you go to a skilled facility that's not permanent is if you're rehabbing, and they're normally two different ends of that facility, so that you're just actually rehabilitating and going back. They provide assistance, making sure that you can get dressed and that you can eat, you can get to the bathroom, all those kind of things that we take for granted that don't always happen easily as we get older. They still try as much as possible to have any kind of activity, as much as you're capable of. So they're trying to make sure that we can be, that you can be live as great of life as, or as good of life as that you can expect. Close supervision, even more so than the others. We're seeing a lot of the facilities now alarm people so that we know whether it's an ankle bracelet or a wrist bracelet, something so they know where they are in the facility, if they are capable of moving around so that they don't wander off. And then they do specialize in dementia care. So it's very interesting if you've ever been to a dementia unit, because they have all kinds of little rooms. Because everybody's at a different stage and we progress differently. Some never progress to different areas. But you'll see one area where there's laundry. And it's really nobody's laundry. But some people, that's their peace of mind. They fold clothes every day. There's some that there's babies. And they're just doll babies. And there's clothes. And they take care of those babies. Every time I go to a facility, there's somebody in one of those two rooms. Somebody's either folding laundry or they are holding the baby. Kind of a sad commentary, but you know what? If that's what their peace of mind is and it's keeping them busy, that's a positive as well. So they do quite a bit in the way of trying to figure out what's the best thing for that particular person. This is where it gets very expensive if you thought anything else was expensive before. In 2015, the national median call for skill was $250 a day, or $91,250. And it's pretty close to that here in this area as well. So a skilled facility is very, very expensive. National range, anywhere from 101 to a maximum of 1255. Medicare only covers a very limited small amount of the cost. Long-term care insurance varies by policy. So we do believe in long-term care insurance. It is good for some of these things. It is not good for others. So it just depends. In this particular case, long-term care would cover a lot of the cost here. So the insurance policy would be pretty good there. Family considerations. If you have somebody that needs long-term care, I can't imagine doing that for a long period of time, trying to take care of somebody 24/7 and still run your life as well. The issue here is not really to depress you about aging, even though I probably have depressed you. I tend to do that. I wish I wouldn't do it. It's more to think about what is it going to cost you. So it's great to think about life now and what we're doing. It's great to think about in those what we call the go-go years. You've retired and wow, I want to go and I want to have a great time. But if we don't think about the what ifs down the road, what's going to happen? How are we going to pay for those things? To make sure that our care is good and somebody else isn't trying to figure out how are we going to care for our family or our loved ones. That's really what this is about. But I think first, if we just think about, are we compartmentalizing some money, or are we thinking about how our money is going to last and what we're going to do with it, so as we get older, we do enjoy our retirement. I don't want anyone to think about, I'm retiring and, oh God, I got to save my money because I might end up one of these places that I don't have enough money for. The idea is to go and enjoy your life the best that you can and have some money for this set aside as well, and to be thinking about those things.